So one thing which mentioned by Mr. Patwari was he merged science with spirituality. And in today's time, when we talk about science, software and IT and electronics and software comes into your mind. So Nike speaker has over 50 years of experience in non-destructive testings. He is highly motivated to carry out challenges in jobs related to non-destructive testing. He is currently the chairman and MD of the Industrial Marine Oilfield Services India Limited, has 3 publications to his credit. He is member of the International Federation of Astrology in Mumbai. He is a PhD and a doctorate from an open university in complementary medicines. Has received several awards, including the Distinguished Academia Award at the World Congress of Holistic Health and Spiritual Sciences. He is a fellow at the Indian Society of Modern Non-Destructive Testing, and also recently received the Lifetime Achievement Award by the Zorasan College, Mumbai. May I request Dr. Dara Rupa to please come forward and guide us on his software, the BioPredict software. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for Dr. Dara Rupa, please. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry. Am I audible? Are I on? Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Yesterday, Dr. Reshma spoke about organ clocks, all right? Today, we are going to talk about the body clocks. And these body clocks are so important and so useful that you can do so many things with this. And I would like to thank Dr. Meher Master Moose, our Zoroastrian College, where she has supported this right from the beginning, so where we were involved in Kirlian photography and all that. And at the same time now, this particular, what you call the biorhythm clock, which I've been practicing for the last 15 years, and we have about 40,000 people on this particular panel. Now, what is this biological clock, or what is this biorhythm clock, what we call, and how it works? As you must have seen here, that everything, our body is 72% water. So what is happening is that the moon controls practically our whole body, indirectly, directly, some way or the other, due to high tide, low tides, etc. So what happens is that this moon, which is working around the earth, is doing a lot of good things as well as bad things. So we have a lot of information, and when I was in US, just waiting at the airport, I found this particular book called Biorhythm. And from this book, I went into taking out into the software, and this is what the software is. And the software gives you all the information about yourself. Now, actually, your date of birth is supposed to be your thumb. From your thumb, you can get your complete date of birth. Now, the date of birth is normally having a lot of problems, because when the child is delivered or when the mother gives birth to a child, the first thing is the head or the leg that comes out, then later on the whole body. Then what you call the part of the body, the child is held by the person concerned, and then the umbilical cord is clipped, and then it is severed, and the child is put up and given a spanking. The time of birth actually is supposed to be the time of giving a cry. When the child gives out the big cry, all the fluid comes out from his eyes, nose, ears, and all that, and the child gives out a big cry, and that cry is supposed to be what we take into the biorhythm system. Now, everybody has the date of birth and time with respect to what the ward boy gives, or the nurse gives, or the doctor gives. But that is not true. The correct time is when the child is giving out his first cry, and when he cries very loudly, all that fluid that comes out and his lungs get empty, this is the time when the software starts working. So we require the date of birth and time either from here or that time, because there is a difference of time between half an hour or so. So what happens is that this child, what we are going to do, the biorhythm, or we are going to find out, will be from the time when the child has given a cry, is given a cry out, and he's been able to breathe on his own. So he is taken away from the mother, and he is breathing on his own, and that's where the biorhythm starts. All right, as you see around here, biorhythm has got a tremendous amount of information, and this software is built up to from the time of birth till 90 years. After 90 years, the algorithms of the software are totally different. So we have quite a lot of information like sports, golf, horse riding, boxing, tennis, cricket, football, and so many of them, as you see. The most important ones, what you will come across, is like aerospace, travel, aviation, commerce industries, alcohol addiction, suicide tendencies, intellectual stupidity, shoplifting, and many more. Now, all these informations, what you are seeing, absent-mindedness, health recoveries, high blood pressure, surgery, dentistry, coma, immunization, dieting, sex drive. Now, all this information, what you have gathered from biorhythm, gives you tremendous amount of information throughout your life, and we have saved about nearly 15 or 20 people from suicide tendencies. So we come to know about the suicide person about 6 months or 8 months in advance, and at the same time, a lot of information can be provided because software is exactly what is happening with you. It is telling you everything, and it is pure mathematical calculations. So the calculations are totally based on, which we will come to those sinusoidal curves now. Yeah, this is the biorhythm software, as you see, and this is how we plug in the information of the person concerned or the patient, the date of birth, the time of birth, which is very important also. And the software does all that, and it gives you all this information. So we are having all this information of the good days, bad days, the caution days, etc., etc. And this can be up to about 90 years. So this is the scrolling place. So this is the scroll, and you can scroll this right up to 90 years of your life. So we can take in advance up to 90 years. However, everything also depends on him, the final one, the final authority. And the most important thing is that we don't want anybody to ask us the questions when we are doing the biorhythm, that when do I die? This is a very common question. Everybody, when they come first, they want to know when they are going to die. That is his prerogative. We are nobody to tell anything. But if you are going to fall down, or if you are going to walk, and while you are walking you trip, or a dog is going to come and bite you, or you are going to have problems on surgery, or you're going to have a heart attack on the road and you've just collapsed. All this information can be seen from the biorhythm. So this is the first software. This is the software where you have to give all this information inside and plug all this information. And all this information turns out into a thing called, what is called a sinusoidal waveform. Now, these sinusoidal waveforms are based on physical, emotion, intellectual, exquisite, perception, and spiritual. Now, these are the international ones, the physical, emotional, and intellectual. And this invention is from William Phillips, which is 1819, in 1819. Now, in the year 1819, he was a pediatrician, and he used to take all the small children's date of birth and time, and he found out the first physical cycle, which is supposed to be the red one. This red cycle is the physical. I'll come back again. He would tell all that. Then the other inventions were done, and now at the moment it is in full swing. So everybody, for train, the guy who is a train driver, or when we are driving a car, or when you're going to Lonavala abroad or anywhere, and something happens, the biorhythm is very important. So you come to know in advance whether he is traveling safe or not with his family. So it's a very great advantage using this particular type of biorhythm system. This is how the whole thing starts. The first cry of the baby is supposed to be this point. So from this point, that is supposed to be his date of birth and time. So that's how the sinusoidal waveforms are. Now, the red one which you see around is 23 days from the time of birth. So you count time of birth, 23 days, 28 days, 33 days, and all your cycles follow. So it is converted into sinusoidal waveform. So as you see around, and the moon which is rotating around the earth, 29 and a half days. The women's menstrual cycle is 28 days. So this is colliding very much with that and with respect to the moon also. So we have the moon cycle, which is also 20 and a half days, which is converted into the sinusoidal waveform. So what you see is the ups and downs. So the top section around here, when all the what you call cycles are started, we have got about 8, 9 cycles. So when all the cycles have started, they all go upward. And this is the main point which you see around here on Thursday. That is supposed to be the peak period. On this peak period, whatever you do, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to gain, whether you want to buy anything, etc., you can do during that time. This time, when you're not even taking a pill, you get cured. Because every single person goes through a biological cycle like this. So what happens is these are the peak periods. So this is the peak period on the top, which is on Tuesday, on the 20th. Then we come across for the physical cycle, which is known as the caution day, which we'll see around here back again. So this is the upward, which are the good days, what we call. So all the good days, like the physical, emotional, intellectual, these are the good days. So anything you do, you are successful. So everybody has to wait for those physical days, and everybody has to go 3 cycles of the physical, emotion, and intellectual cycle, where these are supposed to be the international ones. The red is supposed to be the physical, the blue is the emotional, and the green is supposed to be the intellectual cycle. These are the ones where the inventions have been done by me. So about the exquisite, perception, etc., we'll talk later. Now, these good days which are there are supposed to be so good and so beautiful that you don't have to take a pill. If you're sick, you automatically get well. So when sometimes what happens when you are really sick and you feel very lonely, you cannot feel lonely or you cannot feel bad because you feel always pepped up during this particular time. Then suddenly this sinusoidal waveform keeps on going and it comes to the caution day. So this is known as the caution day, which is the green line, what you see around. This caution day, there are chances of accidents. There are chances of people falling very bad, sick. They cannot recover. Very difficult. Doctors give injections. They do all sorts of things, but they cannot recover. So they get into problems. And the last one is supposed to be which is supposed to be very bad, where you can't do anything, you just have to wait until the time follows. So everything is based on time. So time plays a very important role. If you say that I want to become fat very soon or you want to become thin very soon, no. It is only through these number of days you can be able to. So when you see the biological chart, you will come to know as to what day you can try out all your things and what days you cannot try out because it is useless doing anything. Now this is the downward. These are supposed to be the very bad days. So when the physical, emotional, intellectual, and all the other cycles come into exquisite cycle, all these come down below. They come in the downward trend, which is the sinusoidal downward trend, the next trend. During this time, this tells you the complete moon where there is Amavas, new moon, half moon, etc., etc. It will tell you. So the software has got all this information. We have taken this from the NASA Space Center. And this information is completely tallied. All these cycles are tallied with the moon cycle. So the interpretation is done with respect to the moon cycle also on this one. We are working on the sun cycle, the next one it is. So we are working on that. The third one is supposed to be the critical cycle. This is the most dangerous cycle where you are prone to any kind of accidents. This is where all the three cycles, the physical, emotion, and intellectual cycle all come together. So sometimes it comes once in a year, sometimes it comes 3 times in a year, sometimes it comes after 6 years also. So this is a very dangerous cycle. And this cycle we come to know, so during this time when you are traveling or going around or even on a flight, it is considered to be not auspicious. You should not travel during that time. Stay at home or sleep as possible. So this you come to know as per the critical cycle. So now at the moment, what you don't know anything about yourself, by this software you know about yourself, what you are going through. The next cycle is what we call at the age of 58 years, that is 21,251 days. When you are 21,251 days, that is supposed to be 58 years, this time you have what is called a new biorhythm life. So your complete life changes, and from that 58 years onwards, you either become very good or you become very bad. The same thing has happened in the beginning, same thing continues after 50 years. And this happens to everybody. It is not that, it is something X or Y or Z. So even for animals, there is a biorhythm. Even for birds, there is a biorhythm. So like that, for human beings, this biorhythm plays a very important role. So you have to be extremely, extremely careful when you are 58 years old, that is 21,251 days. So during these days, you are prone to start again a new life, and we call it a new biorhythm life. So this life, which has ended here after 58 years, and after this, a new thing starts. And so you exactly behave what was in the beginning when you were a small child. Now you are an adult, you have grown up, you have become old. So that is the same thing you follow which happens to you. And you don't know about it. Nobody knows about it. Only from this software we come to know about it. This has got all the time. So everywhere on the software, if I show you later on, if time permits me, we get at every instance we get time. So the accuracy is about 2 hours difference, plus and minus 2 hours difference. And this tells you, so so it gives you all the information, and this new biorhythm life starts. This is how we give by email. So when you give me details of your date of birth and time, I'll give you a chart, and it gives you all the information about yourself, and we give you the interpretation also. Now, as for the computers are concerned, it's very difficult, so it requires a person to interpret the sinusoidal waveform. So through artificial intelligence, we have converted these waveforms into a kind of a calendar. So you can see your number of days, bad days, good days, and all. So everything is there, physical, emotional, intellectual, all these cycles are there, including the moon cycle. So you come to know which are the good days and bad days. So all the red ones, what you see, are bad. All the green ones are supposed to be good in the physical emotion. So you get in the email, you get a calendar, and this calendar you can keep it in your bedroom, and you'll be able to see the number of days, what is going on with your body, and then compare it for yourself. So you have a chance to compare that. So you can see this whole thing around from this, and just from your date of birth and time, you will get this information. The next one. The most important thing today, what we are talking about, various companies giving you a match between compatibility. Now, the compatibility is the biggest problem of today. It does not tell you how long you are, how short you are, what is your qualification, and the wife has to be the same and the husband has to be the same. No, it is not that. In the astrological side, it is based on the planetary conditions, and they are based on the doshas, But this one is based on the number of cycles which are compared between the husband and wife, and you get the compatibility on it. So if your compatibility, everybody can see this, right? They can see it right at the last? Is it possible, right? Okay, so this one which is red, which is supposed to be the physical and emotion and intellectual and the spiritual. Now what happens that all these cycles must be above 50%. If it, in the physical cycle, if it is not 50%, then there are chances of the women not conceiving. So there are chances that you may not get the baby. The other thing is regarding the physical cycle. The physical cycle is again a very important thing because it becomes a cat and dog system. In the house, the wife is fighting, the husband is fighting, and this thing just keeps on going on and on. So we come across what is called the compatibility, which is the physical cycle. Good morning, sir. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. So all these cycles are there. So for compatibility, for good compatibility, we would go for physical, emotion, and intellectual to be above 50%. And above 50%, if it is there, that marriage is always 100 to 200% successful. But anything going wrong in the physical, emotion, intellectual, we have some differences, like on the exquisite cycle, the intuitional cycle, the perception cycle, as well as on the spiritual cycle. Now, the spiritual cycle is something very important, which is 55 days old, all right? This cycle plays also a very important role for compatibility. So, physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual is what we see and tell whether the husband and wife is compatible or not. Now, there will be another question which will be coming out, that suppose if a person is already married, then how do you find out? Then what do you do? And you come across this physical, which is supposed to be good, but emotional is supposed to be very bad. So it's a cat and dog situation. So there is a chance where we can change that by looking at the biorhythm and find out what is the genuineness in that. So from the biorhythms, you are in a position to see that. So this is how the compatibility works. And there is another one which we have, is giving you that information about oneself, about the lucky numbers, etc. Much follow, but the biorhythm compatibility, we follow the maximum. But this is very important, especially the animal sign. Now, suppose if it is a snake, animal sign is snake, husband is snake, and the other is a mongoose, what will happen? They can never stay together. So right from the beginning, before they get married, you can tell that this person is not compatible at all because both of them are completely opposite. The mongoose, or they will get killed anyway. So these are the animal signs, then the directions, then what directions you should do that, then your vastu is there, then what, which is there, Ayurvedic. It is something important. This little software which is incorporated inside is also very important. The next one, the next version we are coming out is with respect to the biochemic salts. See, everybody leaches out from their urine the biochemic salts. Now, these biochemic salts are supposed to be very, very important. For example, magnesium phosphate. Magnesium plays a very important role for the body, for everything. If you have lack of magnesium, magnesium is not generated from the body. Magnesium has to be taken internally or externally from food, from what you call fruits, etc., or from nuts and all that. So that's why that is very important. So we can get that information also from here. So we are working on that, and you can find out what biochemical salts have been missing because of your date of birth and time. So we get a lot of information, which is a complete summarized information from the software. And this information can be seen. So now, this biorhythm, it plays a very important role, just like the organ clock. So organ clock and the body clock, if they match together, it can be of tremendous use to human beings. And I would personally feel that everybody should try it out and see for themselves, and which gives you a lot of information. But this software is not sold to anybody unless and until we find that the person is really capable, because this software can be misused a lot. And there are a lot of instances, case studies, what we have, where people have misused it. So that's why we are very careful not to give the softwares to any Tom, Dick and Harry. We have to be very careful that this software is not misused. I'd like to thank Dr. Kumar. I would also like to thank, because she told me to participate in this conference, this lovely conference, which we got a lot of knowledge from all the good learned friends. And like to thank Dr. Mermoos, because she's my mentor. And she has been a great help, because she was the one who told me to start on this. So it took a very long time, 12 years, before this software was developed. And we found that afterwards, when we did about nearly 40 people, case studies, which are very, very important, which I cannot discuss today because of the time factor. So all this, I would like to thank Dr. Kumar for giving me this opportunity to speak with the...
Thank you so much, sir.
I'll give you my number. 98. My name is Dr. Dara Rupa. 98 20 44 61 00. Okay? You can contact me only at my office. And my office is in Industrial, Marine and Oilfield Services. I'm a specialist in ultrasonics, and I do work on industrial ultrasonics. So I do work on the ships. We fly on the ships by helicopter. We go there, do the job, and come back. So we are always working outside India, sorry. So we are always in that type of situation. That's why it took with Dr. Mermoos, who is supposed to be an authority in all these subjects. It took me 20 years to get just to be in contact with us. So you can understand what is the way of velocity which is there. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. May I request?
If there is
Mr.
any questions you would like to ask, you're most welcome. Please. Please do. I have the software. I can put everything on the software and tell you. But it should be private. It should not be open to all. Beg your pardon, sir? Sorry, ma'am? Oh, you can contact me on this number. Yeah, then you can come to my office or my residence, sorry. No, my timing is from 10 to 5:30, 6 o'clock. Okay? But I would prefer to come to the office so that, the family is not disturbed. What would anybody like to know? Ask me questions.
Do we have any questions for Dr. Rupa, please?
That's right. Do you want to know anything about when you are going to trip or fall down? Now, do you know when you're walking out or when you're going out of this auditorium or when you're walking anywhere, suddenly a stone comes and you trip and you fall down? How will you know about it? Biorhythm tells you all about it. A dog is going to come and bite you. You don't know about it. That stray dog is there and he comes and bites you. You don't know. But we warn in advance, 3 months or 4 months in advance, and for suicidal tendencies, about 6 months. So we have a lot of cases, as I told you, about 12 cases of suicide between youngsters as well as love affairs and blah, blah, blah and all that, as well as you see the compatibility, because with compatibility you get a lot of information. So that information can be useful to you. And you will come to know whether the husband and wife can stay together, they don't get along well, they are fighting like a cat and dog, or they are very in a harmonious situation and they are well and happy. So that is the most important thing. What we require is happiness, and that is we crave. So if you want to use this biorhythm, you can use it for all these purposes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. May I request Mr. Ashok Chakdev and Mr. B. Kumar to felicitate Dr. Dara Rupa. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for our speaker, Mr. Dr. Dara Rupa.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for your enlightening lecture. I thank Dara very much for this. And I just came to know that he's an expert in non-destructive testing and he has to travel to ships and all to do the testing. Wow, this seems to be quite a big extension to the work, and especially when he is doing in the area of ultrasonics. It's a very, very, very powerful field which can be applied to human healing also. But I don't know. I hope he
Yes,
is going
it
to
can.
use it
Yes, it can.
in future or not.
No, we are using it. We are using it. And
Fantastic.
ultrasonic. Not only that, but ultrasonics is used for cleaning clothes also.
That I'm aware. Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome,
And
sir. Thank you.
It has been a great pleasure
Thank you, sir.
to have the company of Dr. Rupa.